Hello, QVS AP Human Geography students. I hope you're having a good weekend. I hope that last week was productive as you moved further into that selective unit called Geography Skills and Themes. The whole purpose of that unit is to gain a strong understanding of the different regions of the world through the application of the different topics that we learn within the context of human geography. So, for example, we just got done looking at the Americas, North America and South America in that selective unit, and we just finished Essential Unit 2, which is on population and migration. So you should start to kind of think about how the population of places like the United States and Canada compare in terms of the demographic transition model, even the epidemiological transition model. You should consider migration and how that has impacted countries in North America and even Latin America. You know that both of those continents were at one point in their history colonized by Europeans, and you then can understand why over time large numbers of Europeans have migrated to both of those places. And now we're getting into Essential Unit 3, which is all about culture. And if you kind of further consider the cultural imprint that those European states have left in the Americas, you'll kind of really come to understand what I mean by applying the different topics that we study within the context of AP Human Geography to the different regions that we will study within the context of that selective unit on geography, skills, and themes. So that's the whole purpose of that. Hopefully you engaged in it. I know that some still have not. You're going to save it to the end of the year. And my only belief is if you do it as I pace you through it within the context of the year, that will only increase your knowledge and that will only help you perform well on the AP exam that you take in May. So we are beginning a new unit this week. It is Essential Unit 3. And the topic for this unit is culture. I want to take you to the course page and talk to you about what you need to do to be successful in week 1, but I'll just kind of like begin talking more generally in terms of the focus for the unit, because of course, for me to say it is just about culture, you know that it really entails so much more. But you can begin to think about what is culture? Like, how would you define it? If you were going to describe to me your culture, how would you do that? Me, for example, I'm from the United States of America, and you know, in terms of clothing in that, it's more popularized. Blue jeans, Old Navy, Gap, these are some of the more popular clothing stores in the United States. You know that, and blue jeans have become so much a part of American culture. Foods like hamburgers and hot dogs, and nothing more American than apple pie. These are some things that I would describe my culture. The 4th of July, political partisanship, if you're following along what's happening in the United States today. Americans have weathered this storm before, so what's happening with the presidency, we've had tough elections before. That's a part of the American culture. So think about that. How would you describe your culture? And you can then have at least a platform to start from in terms of where we're going to go with this unit and with this topic in Essential Unit 3. So let me talk to you, let me take you to the course page, I should say, and then talk to you about where we are going to go in week 1. So let's go on to the course page. Here we are, and then you'll scroll down and you'll see that I opened Essential Unit 3 called Cultural Patterns and Processes. This unit is going to be open for 4 weeks. I want you to make every effort to complete it by the time of winter break. Of course, it will remain open during winter break. However, I would encourage you over winter break to use some of that time to become familiar with the format of the AP exam, but that's a whole different video that I will make separately. So it's running for 4 weeks. Get it done by winter break. It's called Cultural Patterns and Processes. If you click on the map, you can listen to an overview from Mr. Sin. The map that I chose to represent this unit is a map that shows the major religions of the world. Religion is another important feature of culture, as is language. So you can see from this map that different religious beliefs exist in different parts of the world. We'll even get talking about how these religions have diffused to the different areas. It's important for you to know like the history behind how Christianity got to the Americas, how Islam spread into Africa, and so on and so forth. So there's the map for the unit. You can, of course, go ahead and read the unit overview. On the AP exam, 12 to 17% of the information on that exam comes from this time period. The College Board suggests that we use 19 to 20 class periods to cover the material, which is what we are going to do. And then under the unit resources, you can see that, don't get scared, there's lots of different chapters here. I know you're used to just one chapter, 2 chapters. I'm kind of like baby stepping it up. But there are 4 different chapters here, so you really have to pace out your reading. I would say attack 1 chapter per week. The first chapter is all about culture. The next chapter, chapter 5, is about identity. So we get into kind of like concepts of ethnicity and race. There's a whole separate chapter on language and how it diffused in different language families. And then finally, there's a chapter all about religion. So this unit will run 4 weeks. My suggestion to you is to read and take notes on 1 chapter per week. The note-taking template is there. The Mr. Sin videos for this unit are here. So you can click here and it will open up to all of the different videos that he has on culture. You know, I use these within the context of my activities as well, but it never hurts to rewatch them. So I've packaged them separately right there, and then you don't have to go into all the different activities. So within the context of this unit on culture, I'm going to introduce you to culture and what the different features of it. We'll spend a little bit of time talking about cultural landscape. So I want you to think back to essentially Unit 1 when we had that debate over possibilism or environmental determinism. In this unit, you're going to kind of get an environmental determinist perspective because you need to come to understand how the environment largely impacts culture. And that's what we mean by cultural landscape. We'll take a look at some features around the world and talk about, even within the context of food, how different products grown in different places have a special feature to them that makes them culturally distinct and unique. So we'll talk about cultural landscape and cultural patterns. When we get into cultural patterns, we'll look at ethnicity. We're going to do another case study on the United States because it is a nation of immigrants. So there are many different ethnic groups that are located there that act as a nice case study for our investigation of culture. We'll then get into looking at diffusion, different types of diffusion. There are categories like hierarchical versus relocation. We'll look at those different types of diffusion and then get into talking about historical and contemporary causes for diffusion. We'll do a few case studies in terms of how culture has diffused over time. And then we'll look very closely at religion and language particularly. So those are the main features of the unit. In the first week, let me draw your attention to 3.1, 3.2, and 3.3. And I will outline this in the email as well. Those are the areas that I want you to focus on this week in week 1. In 3.1, we will introduce you to culture. You'll watch a Mr. Sin video and you'll come to learn the difference between folk and pop culture. We'll continue that into this second activity here, and I'm actually going to open this one up because I have a little slideshow right here that I'm sharing with you. So if you click right here on this link, you're going to get access to this slideshow. So if like I press play right here, it's going to play the slideshow for you. However, you're going to see that parts of the slideshow are blank. After you open the slideshow by clicking here, you're going to make a copy for yourself. And I explain right here how to make a copy. And as you work through your copy of the slideshow, I want you to fill in the information. And you should ask, where do I get the information from? There's a couple places you can get the information from. You can get the information from the textbook chapters. So take a look up here in the resource section. Or you can even go to the internet and type in the terms to find the definitions. So you'll take a look at folk and pop culture within the context of that activity. And then we are going to do a case study on a tale of two folk cultures. A lot of folk cultures around the world are dying because pop culture is very forceful. And a lot of folk cultures are having trouble surviving. You'll take a look at two folk cultures there and do a little comparative analysis. And then we'll talk about food and culture. I hope it doesn't make you too hungry, but you know that there are some taboos as it relates to food in different cultures. We'll take a look at halal and kosher style foods. We'll even look at McDonald's within the context of that activity. It's the most ubiquitous fast food around the world today. And then we'll get into looking at ethnocentrism and cultural relativism. Those are two important terms that you need to come to understand. And I think you really will after we take the opportunity to debate them in the forum right here. And then moving on into cultural landscapes, we'll take a look at toponyms. Toponyms are names of places. I don't know if you've ever noticed, like look at the name of the capital of the United States, Washington, D.C. It's named after a person. That is a toponym. So you're going to have to identify some toponyms that exist in a place of your choosing. And then we'll talk about sequent occupants. It's really cool. This notion that a place has occupancy throughout history, and some of those old occupants, cultural features still remain. You'll really come to understand what I mean by that when you do that activity, but just think of like the Great Wall in China. It's not used anymore for its original intent, yet the structure still exists, and it's an important part of Chinese culture and history. That's what we mean by sequent occupants. And then you're going to get into cultural patterns, and this is where we will take a look at the United States particularly as it relates to the different ethnic groups that exist there, and as it relates to inequality that exists as a result of ethnic and racial divisions. So your goal for this week, again, is to do 3.1, 3.2, and 3.3. And of course, I encourage you to contact me at any time if you have any questions. I'm happy to help. I am happy to talk about any of these topics if you are confused on them. Don't be afraid to contact me if you're still working on Essential Unit 1 and 2. Of course, I need you to get moving along, but I would never get mad at you, and I only want to help you. So please understand that the only way I can help you progress is if you communicate with me. So I want to encourage you to do that. And if you're self-sufficient and you don't have to contact me, that's okay too. It's not that I don't want to talk to you, but I understand that you can move along in the unit quite effectively without communicating with me all the time. And I encourage you to do that too. So in either case, have a good week. Essential Unit 3, Week 1, get started. Bye.